Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons almost need no introduction. With as many features as there are packed into these things, they have one glaring flaw, and it's something that Nintendo might not be able to fix without a full redesign. And that issue is Joy-Con drift, and that's something that can happen to just about anyone. It's actually happening to me right now with this left Joy-Con, but it's not an issue that's inherent to Switch Joy-Cons. It's actually an issue with the control stick module, and most controllers could have this same issue at some point. But it's become such a problem with the Joy-Cons that Nintendo ended up having to address it directly. They've gone as far as offering free repair for drift issues, as well as a full replacement if they can't fix the issue. And that's even if you're outside the original manufacturer's warranty. But what is Joy-Con drift, and why does it happen? Well, essentially the way a joystick works is when we move the stick around, it changes the resistance of a potentiometer inside, which has an effect on the electrical current inside of a circuit. And that circuit sends the signals to the system, which then it translates it into like character motion or like a cursor moving around. And the issue starts when dust or debris get inside the joystick module, and the dust and debris can get in the way of that circuit and cause it to alter the current in a way where it thinks that you're moving the joystick around or thinks you're moving it in a certain way when you actually aren't. Now, unfortunately, this issue is exacerbated by the fact that the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con is really small and the module they use is pretty small inside there. And if dust and debris does get inside that module, it's pretty much impossible to clean it out. And most times you have to actually replace the whole module in order to fix the issue. But again, the issue is that dust and debris gets in there, so eventually you might run into this problem again even after you replace that joystick. Now, there is a way that Nintendo could remedy this situation, but again, it does require a full redesign. There's some new controllers out in the market from GullyKit and 8BitDo that both use something called a Hall effect sensor in their joysticks. Essentially, the difference there is a regular joystick, like I said, changes the current in an electrical circuit, where a Hall effect sensor uses a semiconductor to detect the change in a magnetic field. So it's almost the same kind of thing, but it works a little bit differently. And in the Hall effect sensor, something like dust or debris won't affect the magnetic field like something would actually touching an electrical circuit. And then these brands go on to say that they think that their controllers will never end up having a drift issue, and that's hard to say right now because that kind of joystick isn't very common. And the way I'm talking about this technology, it sounds like it's something that's pretty brand new, but it's actually been around for a long time. There's actually another system that takes advantage of the Hall effect sensor, and it's actually the Dreamcast. That was released in 1999, which is crazy to think about how that was like 20-something years ago. Now, I don't remember ever hearing about a Dreamcast controller getting stick drift issues, but at the same time, larger control sticks that are used in controllers like this Pro controller, the actual modules themselves are also larger. So if you do get any kind of dust or debris in there, you could just spray some air in there and clean it out, and most of the time that fixes it. The issue with the Joy-Cons though is that because the module is so small, even if you spray some air in there, it really doesn't dislodge anything. And so that's where you end up having to actually get the whole module replaced. And like I mentioned before, the Hall effect sensors aren't really super common in joysticks, so it's kind of hard to determine whether or not replacing this with a Hall effect sensor would actually totally fix the issue, especially with how small it is. And it's actually hard to say if you could make a joystick this small with a Hall effect sensor. I'm not sure how far you can actually shrink that technology down. And now if you're interested in buying the controllers that I mentioned before, it's the GullyKit King Kong 2 Pro controller and the 8BitDo Ultimate Bluetooth controller. What's actually kind of confusing about that one is the 8BitDo controller comes in two models, and you want to make sure to choose the one that has the Bluetooth connectivity because that's the one that connects to the Switch, and the other one does not connect to the Switch. So let's say that unfortunately you do have Joy-Con drift. What are your options? Well, you can send this out to Nintendo for free repair, but again, you have to send this out to them. So it would be days or maybe even weeks depending on how quickly they can actually get to repairing it, and you'll be without that Joy-Con that whole time. So if you only have the Joy-Cons, you won't even really be able to play a game unless it only requires one of the Joy-Cons to play. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can also buy a kit to replace the joystick module yourself, which is not something I can really recommend because you have to take the whole Joy-Con apart to get to the module to replace it. And if you mess up or break a cable, you kind of break the whole Joy-Con and you have to replace it, and these aren't cheap. A pair of them retails at $79.99, and if you want to buy one of them, you can buy them, I think in certain circumstances, one at a time for like $40, or like used at GameStop for like $35 or something like that. I have drift in this Joy-Con right here, so I went ahead and bought the iFixit kit, and I'll be repairing that Joy-Con myself in a future video. So if you're interested in seeing that video, go ahead and click here to subscribe, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on that video. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one.